This is She Fascinates Me, a podcast about women who are living with intention, curiosity, and heart. I'm Julie Silber, and in each episode, I'm bringing you conversations with women who inspire fascination in all its forms. Margaret Martin is an Atlanta divorce attorney, a mother of 3, including a daughter with mosaic Down syndrome and autism, and a woman whose emotional endurance quietly humbles you. In our conversation, I asked her something I've always wondered, and her answer was exactly what I had hoped for. Today we talk about daily life, the invisible choices that protect a marriage and nurture siblings, and what strength really looks like when it's lived out over decades. So before we dive in, I am an independent creator, and this podcast is going to grow with YouTube subscriptions. Those help me more than you know. So if you haven't already, please take a second to subscribe. Hello, and welcome to She Fascinates Me. I'm your host, Julie Silber, and today I'm with my friend, Margaret Martin. She's an Atlanta attorney and a parent of a child with special needs. And she's here today because I really want to talk about the total person. Being a parent of a child with special needs has got to be all-consuming, but there is so much to Margaret that I want to share with all of you today, especially her strength and resilience. And here you are. Nice to see you.
Thanks for having me.
I'm glad you're here. So we met through a mutual friend, and I have always been in awe of parents of children who have special needs. And your case is a very complex one with your daughter, Grace. If you can maybe start by telling us about your whole family and tell us about Grace and her diagnosis, and we'll go from there.
So I have 3 children, 22-year-old twins, 19-year-old daughter. The twins are a boy and a girl. Had a very hard time having them. So kind of the beginning of my difficult journey in life was infertility, which we could have a whole hour on that.
Wow.
But that was a very hard journey, especially as a woman. You know, if you want to have children and you can, it really makes you question who you are as a woman.
Okay.
So looking back, that probably prepared me for what came.
Okay.
When I look back. So we ended up having twins. I went on bed rest, almost had them at 24 weeks.
Wow.
Was in the hospital. The priest came to give us the last rites. It was hairy.
Wow.
But they made it to 33 and a half weeks, and so they were born prematurely. My son was in the NICU for a month. My daughter came home after 3 days, which is so ironic.
Yes.
Because, 18 months later, we realized she had special needs.
Okay.
So in the beginning, she was a very good baby, which in retrospect, I realized was not normal. But they were premature, and I was a first-time mother, and they were twins, and so everything was, they were preemie.
Yeah,
She didn't nurse well, she's a preemie. She doesn't cry that much, she's a preemie.
Is that where the she was a good baby comes from?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
interesting.
Her brother would howl and scream, and she'd just look at him like, what are you doing?
Okay.
So then when they started to progress, it's typical for the girl to be more advanced than the boy.
Okay.
And in my case, it was the opposite.
Okay.
And so that was the first signal that something was off.
All right.
I look back at pictures now and I see things that I didn't see at the time, because it's your beautiful baby. You don't see anything, but this is my baby that I've been trying to have for, 7 years.
Of course.
So,
you've been through a lot at that point already, just in general.
So the first 12 months, there were little inklings something was off. And then when the boy twins started walking, talking, and doing things for her, I said to my husband, there's something wrong with Grace.
Okay.
And so at 18 months, we really started the journey. She had to wear a helmet for the flat head, which that has nothing to do with the special needs, but it was just the beginning of everything for her was a little different. And of course, Carlton is the twin son, and he would come along to all these appointments.
Right.
So then we started the journey of what is wrong with Grace.
Okay.
And I can remember going to an OT, and an OT saying, I think she's autistic. And I remember getting in the car and just sobbing.
Wow.
And then from there, we got to neurologists. We went to the Marcus Institute. We went to a developmental pediatrician. We went to just every kind of doctor you can think of. And we went down a path of what's called mitochondrial disease. So mitochondrial disease, that's the powerhouse of the cell. So if the mitochondria in your cell are not working correctly, then nothing in your body is really working well. The mitochondria, and I'm not a scientist, but just having gone through this, can be the root of a lot of things. Autism, Parkinson's, lots of different disorders. But we went down a path of mitochondrial disease for years. We did a muscle biopsy. We were told she had mitochondrial disease. We went to a mitochondrial doctor. Friends had fundraisers every year for a mitochondrial foundation. I mean, we just poured our hearts into the mitochondrial world.
And was this a situation where you all were frantically seeking out all of these options kind of on your own with some guidance from the doctors just to augment what the doctors were suggesting, or was this all at the direction of her medical team saying we've got to look into all these things?
No. We were figuring it out. There was nobody, there was no CEO or COO. We were the COO, figuring out where are we going to go, what are we going to do. Everybody was telling us inconsistent things. Therapists would opine, but they weren't doctors. She didn't talk for a long time, so we did something called oral motor therapy, where you have to do these swabs in the mouth. I mean, we did every therapy you could think of. Actually, as the years have progressed, you can do blood tests to find different disorders. So when we initially did hers, it didn't come up with anything. We did a brain MRI. Her brain MRI was normal. Which is just crazy when you think about it. So around the time of COVID, about 2020, we went back to another mitochondrial doctor to say, let's check in with you, let's see what we need to do. And she said, it was a different one, and she said, let's run some blood work and see. So my husband and I were laying up in the bed with COVID, both so sick, and she calls and says, I have a surprise. And Grace has mosaic Down syndrome. And it had never picked up. This is when she was like 17 years old. And so what that means is the extra chromosome is not in every cell, which is why it may have taken that long for the blood work to pick it up.
My goodness.
Now when I look back at pictures, I kind of see her almond eyes. I always wondered why her hands were smaller or her ears were a little misformed. So those things, account for why it's Downs. And then we also have autism, which autism is more, here are your symptoms, here's how you present. Some Downs children have autism. We have seen a Down syndrome expert who told us they've never seen a child like Grace, and we just hit the lottery. So Grace doesn't fit in a neat lane. She's not the Down syndrome child who is, bagging groceries. We're very, very, very low functioning. And the autism and what comes with that interferes, I feel like, with her progressing in terms of maybe how a normal Downs child, if there is a normal Downs child, would progress. So we've got two things, I think, they're interacting in some way, which makes it harder just for her to function.
But so many unknowns for so many years. And so that had to have been so incredibly challenging. Not only has it got to be challenging and isolating somewhat when you have a child with special needs, but when there's something so rare and nobody really knows exactly what's going on, how do you find community? Do you feel like you did?
Well, I did initially go to a special needs support group. Where the mothers all had different, some had CP, some had autism, some had Downs. And I did that for a while. And it was helpful to a point. But I said to my husband, if I continue to do this, our whole family is going to be defined by Grace. And we have got to make Grace a part of the story of our family, but not our whole story.
Yes.
Which is one of the reasons I also went back to work.
Okay.
Because I had been practicing law for a number of years, and then I stopped when I couldn't get pregnant.
Yes.
Went through that journey. And so I went back part-time, stopped doing the support groups, because I just saw myself, that became my kind of obsession, you know. And I remember one of Grace's teachers saying to me, Grace is not a problem to be solved. She is a gift of God. Because I kept just, you know, working. I just felt like the more I worked and the more therapy I got, or it would make it better. And then you just come to a point where Grace is who she is.
Yes.
I can beat my head against the wall. I can go to every doctor. I can do every therapy. But it's not going to change the essence of her makeup and who she is. And I can't tell you exactly what point that was, but there was a point when the kids were probably elementary school age that I said, I can't make this my whole focus.
Right. What was that conversation like with your husband? Were you on the same page?
We were
he observing
both.
Things?
He was working. I was staying home. As a lot of couples, I tend to charge in, and Chris tends to be more measured.
Okay.
So, you know, I kind of took the lead in the beginning on doing everything, which is interesting now because he is staying home with her and I am working now. So we reversed.
Yes.
Which is interesting. I mean, each of us had a lead in different seasons.
Yes.
So in the beginning season, it was all me, and he was working, and we had 2 other children.
So can you explain the approach that you had, because I'm sure you had to be very deliberate about how to parent Grace's twin and your youngest daughter. So what did that look like?
I think that when they were little, it was a gang, and they ran in a pack, and that was just how we did it. And I think the normal children kind of pull Grace along, which in retrospect I think was fabulous, because she just had to go, you know, come on, Grace, get with it. It's interesting, my 2 kids are both very empathetic, very independent people, and I think it's because they kind of learned Grace has to be dealt with first, and then it's my turn. Yeah. Which makes me sad in retrospect, but in a way it's made them they're not selfish people, because they learn from a very early age, I gotta wait in line, because Grace has her special needs have to be dealt with before mine. Yes. So that was, in a way, a gift. So they kind of just learned to kind of go with the flow more, because they had to. Yeah. There was a time when I remember we would take Grace on all our spring break trips, or take her to all our trips at the beach. And there was a time when we determined that was no longer going to work. I remember we were going to Jackson Hole, Wyoming, where my brother was living. And the first trip we did not take Grace, I broke down. Yeah. It just killed me. But it was another one of those moments when you thought, I've got to figure out a way to give my other 2 children some normalcy. Yes. And that was a way for the 4 of us to have a week or 2 where it was not all about Grace. Yeah. It was about our sole focus on the other 2, doing what they wanted to do, and we weren't figuring out what is Grace going to do next. Yes. So there was a time, that was when we started finding ways to give the other 2 time. Yes. Without Grace.
Did you ever feel like you had to make excuses for that, or did you ever worry about the optics of that? And I'm not saying that
I did.
I'm not saying that I judge at all about that, because I understand the necessity. I mean, if I were in your shoes, making that conscious decision was probably a really hard one.
It was very painful.
Yeah.
And you never feel totally whole. Yeah. You know, on the trip, I'm having a great time, but then I'm wondering what's happening with Grace. Yeah. And that with time got better, But those initial trips, I mean, it killed me. And I remember her twin just sobbed that she wasn't going.
Oh my goodness.
Carlton, he just sobbed. And he goes, Mom, why can't we take Grace? I said, we can take her, but we're making a choice for you and Mary Meyer not to take her.
Yeah.
And so that was a hard conversation.
Sure.
And as the years have progressed, we've done that more and more, which is, she's almost like an old person that doesn't like to leave their retirement home.
Okay.
She likes her bed, she likes her room, and I realized at a point it was selfish. I wanted the whole family together.
Okay.
But she was miserable.
She relies on the patterns.
She likes consistency, same place, same bed, same schedule.
Yes.
And we would get her somewhere, and then she's ready to go home. And I said, we're doing this for us. We're not doing this for her. Okay. She's miserable.
Yeah.
So it was a process over time.
Sure. Okay.
And then as the children got older, it's almost like we had two little separate families. As you get teenagers and they're doing club sports and cheerleading or whatever it is, you know, she would come to some of those events, but some of those, no, we didn't bring her because, for example, I'd take her to my son's soccer game and she would want to be on the field with him.
Yeah.
And that's not fair to him.
Right.
He should be able to play, be free. And so that was another hard decision to make. It wasn't fair to the other two.
Yeah, because as they're growing and developing, she's not.
And she's not. Yeah. And so that was a strange thing because when they were all little, they were more at the same level. Yeah. But as each year progressed, the divide became further and further.
Yeah.
And so that was an interesting dynamic, and it became where one parent had to stay home with Grace so the other would go to the activities.
Yeah.
And that was sad because my husband and I didn't get to go to a lot of events together because somebody was home with Grace. And so that's one of the sad parts of it.
Okay. I mean, at a certain age for Grace's twin and for your youngest, were you having family discussions about these kinds of decisions? Or was it really just kind of between you and your husband, this is how we're going to handle this situation? And
we would really talk. We would talk, kind of decide, and then we would discuss it with them.
Yeah. Okay.
And honestly, there were times with Grace where, I mean, in the early years, she would get violent. You know, if my husband was out of town and I had the three of them, and there was one time I had to call the ambulance to come get her because I couldn't control her, and I was worried about the safety of my other two children.
How old was she?
Gosh, I think maybe 6, 7. And I mean, you know, we ended up in a padded room with nothing, you know. I mean, that only happened one time, but the children observed that. And I think that was probably very traumatic for them. And I remember I had to call my brother to come get them, and then I had to go in the, you know, with her. And it was almost like she knew and my husband was out of town. It was 1 against 3. And I mean, she's smarter than she thinks she is. And she just, you know, had one of her temper tantrums. And so the kids went through a lot of stress. Like I can think of another time that Grace escaped from our house. My mother-in-law was there and a guest came over and it was a lot of confusion. And she just took off. And we could not find her, and we had the whole neighborhood. And Mary Meyer actually brought that up recently, how stressful that was. And she remembers the police coming, and she remembers all the neighbors in the driveway. And, you know, she and Carlton were sitting there just sobbing, where's Grace? So they went through a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, they observed a lot of, you know, very intense situations where they just had to kind of hold it together.
Yeah.
And that breaks my heart in two. But, you know, that's life.
It is life. And every young person eventually deals with some adversity. They've grown up with it. But you've got to be so proud, I'm sure, of how that has strengthened them to be probably able to handle anything out in the world.
Well, and they're not bitter or, you know, about it. And they're not... You know, they really, and I remember there was one time when she was really bad, and I said, well, do y'all want us to send Grace to live somewhere? And they're like, no, absolutely not. You know, and they started crying, and, you know, they get home, come home from college, they are so excited to see her, and she's excited to see them, and so they're very, very invested in her.
Yes.
So it
sounds beautiful.
So they're very, 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 you know, it's it is the most beautiful. I've said to people, Grace is the most beautiful thing that's ever happened to us, and the hardest.
Wow.
And the beautiful is that love.
Yes.
And when her face lights up, when her twin brother walks in, I mean, there's just nothing else like it.
Okay. So when her twin brother walks in and her face lights up, that's got to be amazing. What other things light her up?
Seeing her younger sister when she comes, seeing my mom and my dad. My dad just passed away, but she loved my parents. My mom goes by Honey, and she loves, when she sees Honey. She doesn't have friends really, so it's really our family and her caregiver.
Okay.
She's never really learned. I mean, she's doing a little bit more of that at school, but it's never where she's had best friends.
Right.
Or, I mean, in the early years, people would invite her to parties and I would bring her, and that was more the moms.
Okay, yeah.
But it was, integrate. She was at Morris Brandon and integrated into a normal class with a parapro for a number of years.
Okay.
And then that came to a point where it really wasn't fair to the other students. I mean, they needed to actually start learning, and so then she went to a segregated class. But I think she learned a lot with her siblings and these other kids, how to stand in line.
Yes.
How to sit down. Like now we'll eat out and I'll say, Grace, we have to be what? And she'll say patient, and kind of learned at the, in the lunchroom, somebody had to hand her lunch. It just didn't appear.
Okay.
So there were some beautiful parts of it. And people come up to me today and say, do you remember my daughter was in Grace's class? And of course, I don't remember. I remember some of them, but everybody remember Grace.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, everybody, Grace was in the place. That was their little saying at school.
So she goes to a special school, right? You mentioned.
She does. Yeah. She was in public school for a number of years, and then she's now at a special school for special needs children.
What is school like for her? What is a typical
It's like preschool.
Summary of a day? Okay.
It's like preschool.
Yeah.
I mean, they're doing arts and crafts, and they try to work on her letters and her numbers.
Does she seem to enjoy it?
She does.
Yeah.
She likes school. Okay. She likes school. And they said she's now getting into when people have a birthday party, she seems to understand it's a birthday party. And so but it's like big play school.
Okay.
I mean, if we're just getting real.
Sure.
I mean, they go on the playground and, take a walk and do nature, and they do some yoga.
Okay.
Which we hadn't quite gotten that figured out. But her mother hasn't either. So anyway, but it's a special place.
Okay. Quick favor, this independent podcast relies on YouTube subscriptions. So if you're enjoying the show, please take a second to subscribe. It helps me tremendously. And now we'll take a moment for the giving intermission. Don't fast forward, your karma is watching. Today's charity spotlight is the Winship Cancer Institute of Emory University, Georgia's only National Cancer Institute designated comprehensive cancer center. Winship's mission is simple but powerful: to prevent, treat, and ultimately cure cancer through groundbreaking research, innovative clinical trials, and compassionate patient care. They are walking alongside patients and families at every stage of the journey, from early detection to survivorship. There are meaningful ways to get involved. You can volunteer to support patients and caregivers, participate in fundraising events like the Winship 5K, join community groups such as Friends of Winship, or make a donation to accelerate research and patient care programs. Every contribution of time, energy, or resources helps move cancer research forward and strengthens support for families navigating incredibly difficult seasons. To learn more or get involved, visit winshipcancer.emory.edu. I think I've always had a fascination with children who have special needs, and that might have come from when I was a child. We lived in Cary, North Carolina, which is in the Research Triangle area. And there was an organization for children with Down syndrome. Actually, I believe they were young adults with Down syndrome. Okay. It was called Life Experiences, and it was a bakery where young adults with Down syndrome could work. And my family volunteered there. And that was what I observed of people with special needs. And then as I was maturing in life, I thought to myself, because that was so interesting to me, I wonder if one day when I'm going to have a child, if I might have a child with special needs. It was just always something in the back of my mind. And maybe that's why I drive to connect with people when I'm out in the wilderness, just out and about, and I see a family with a child with special needs, and I just can't take my eyes off of them because it's so amazing to see how beautiful that parenting relationship is. And then my heart goes to, gosh, I wish there was something I could do to help that mom, or gosh, I wish there was some way that I could connect or make that mom feel seen or appreciated or whatever. And that's just this weird thing that happens no matter where I am for my whole life.
Well, that's so sweet. And I love hearing that as a special needs parent.
Okay.
And I'll say that what I would love for somebody to come up and just pat me on the back and say, good job, girl.
Yeah.
Because this looks hard.
Well, that's what I've always wondered, and that's where I was going with this.
But I have had, an opposite experience where I was in Turks and Caicos. I did not have Grace with me. I was there with a mom and my other daughter. And I went up to a woman who had a son with Downs, and I was like, y'all are doing an amazing job. He is incredible. And she could not have been more rude, not wanting me to say anything about him having special needs. And it was shocking.
Yeah, I bet.
And it came from a good place. I was impressed. But then I've had experiences where I can remember when the kids were little, we were traveling to North Carolina to Raleigh, and we were in a Waffle House because there are not many places we could eat with Grace. And we were in a Waffle House, and she was having a total rage, laying on the floor, screaming. The other two, trying to get them in the seats. And there was a family at a table beside us, obviously of not many means. And when we went to pay our bill, they had paid our bill.
Yeah.
And those are moments when you just think, God is good. There is love out there, and you never know where it's coming from.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting having Grace. You get to see both ends of that spectrum.
Okay.
Because some people just can't handle it.
Yeah.
They just cannot handle it. And I mean, Grace has done some things where she's gone up and popped somebody. And she did that a year ago. And this mom had a young daughter. The daughter started crying. I got Grace in the car with my other daughter, went back in, and I said to the little girl, I'm so sorry. Grace has special needs. I have no idea why she did that. And then the mom said, I was explaining this to her.
Yeah.
And that mom handled it so gracefully, was so kind to me. She could have said, oh my gosh, your daughter just hit my daughter. But she didn't.
Okay.
And so people, I've seen more of that than I've seen the other.
I'm glad.
But I think if you see, I see people out with special needs kids, and I'll say something to them sometimes because I'm impressed because they may have a child in a wheelchair with a feeding tube. I'm not dealing with that. So, you do, but you do feel alone, and you do feel like sometimes people are looking at you. And it would be nice sometimes if people would not stare and they would just smile. Instead, a lot of people will stare at us, like if we have her out, because she hops up and down a lot, which is a sensory thing with the autism, or she'll stem her hands. And some people just stare.
Yeah, and then you have got to feel like you're on display.
And I want to say, just smile.
Yeah, yeah.
Just give us a smile, and we'll keep going.
Yeah.
But it's interesting, but you can't blame them because they don't know it. They don't understand it. It's foreign to them. Okay. And so I try to give them grace. But I would just say for you, though, say something like, good job.
Yeah. I've always wondered,
you're killing
if it would be
girl.
Received well.
Right, so, right. Yeah. I would love it.
Yeah.
I would love that.
All right. Well, thank you for answering that question, because that has always weighed on me. And there's certainly been situations where I have connected with people. Right, but, in the situations where I haven't, I've always wondered, would that have been
And the other thing is,
well?
When you have little kids, there are people that helped me help them. Like I can remember one time at the pool, and Grace was having a rage, and somebody came in that I did not know that well, got my other two children, gave them a shower, got them dressed, and had them waiting for me when I came out with her. And, I'll never forget. And now that person's a good friend of mine.
I love it.
So, it's just...
Yeah. It's a beautiful gift.
Be there.
Yes.
Be there for people.
Yes. So Grace is 22 now.
Right.
Have things started to get easier, or if you feel maybe like that they have, is it just because you're so used to the situation? How would you say things might have changed over all of these years?
I think it's more manageable in that it's just become part of our life. But it's almost gotten more sad because you're watching your other two children progress and go out into the world, and she's not.
Okay.
And so I've actually been going through more grief than I have in a long time. And it may be because I just lost my dad too, but it's been a time of grief, just trying to figure out what is her life going to be like.
Yes.
And, what it could have been. And we can't everybody's like, oh, you're empty nesters. I'm like, no, we're not empty nesters. No. We still have a preschooler at home.
Yes.
And so, it kind of adds in, it's like we're having the grief of the empty nest, but we're not getting the fun part of it.
Yeah.
And so that's hard.
Okay.
It's hard.
When we had our first conversation, when I was first getting to know you, you mentioned that you've had some dark places. And so this moment now is certainly not the first time. Are those brief moments in time and you just have to, get yourself back together, or sometimes have you ever felt stuck?
Oh, I felt stuck.
Because all I see is strength, but certainly there's the reality of it.
But
right?
I have, I have a strong faith, and my faith is sustained me through some very dark times.
Okay.
Thinking I wasn't going to have children, then realizing I had this child that was disabled, and then realizing how severely disabled she was.
Yes.
It's been, there've been a lot, and then my parents have both struggled with cancer a lot, so I've been through that with them, like 4 or 5 different cancers. So there have been some dark days. But I think my faith has sustained me, and I've come to realize that God takes the bad things and can use them for the good if you're open to that.
Yes.
But what I found is if I get so spent and tired with grief and just working, I can't really use the bad for the good.
Okay.
And that's where I am right now, and I think it's a lot of middle-aged women too. It's your hormones are changing, you're more tired, your kids are gone. It's an interesting time.
Yeah, for sure.
And when you've had hardships, I think as a middle-aged woman, you tend to go back and think about those because now you can put your head up a little bit because you've been home raising kids, and you didn't have time to really think about what is all the hell I've been through.
Right.
But when kids start launching, you start losing parents, you're in this middle phase, you stop and say, goodness, what have I been through?
You've been through a lot.
And how do I recover, and how do I use this for others? And
what do you do to recharge your batteries?
I love to read. I love to shop, which is horrible, but it's just like that instant, like, oh, I love that.
Yeah.
I love hanging out with girlfriends. I just started playing Mahjong, which I'm not very good, but it's just fun and visual. And, I think women, too, need to connect. I think everybody is facing their own demons. They're just different, or their own hardships. And to connect, to say, we're at this phase where now we're facing all this. And how do we do it, and how do we support each other?
Yes. You've got a great village now. Have you always had a good village of friends to help you through all of these years?
I've had a number of friends that have been with me for a long time. And they have stood by us with grace and been there during the hard times. And I still have a lot of those friends, which I'm grateful for. Yeah. Some friends fall by the wayside. Yeah. That's just part of life, I think, and growing. But I do have a core that have been there for a long time and know our family and know Grace and know me. And, it's just a gift.
Do you ever get to go on girls' trips?
I did not do a lot of girls' trips because I worked, went back to work, and I always wanted to spend my extra time with my family, and I just made kind of a conscious choice. I recently have done some with some college friends, and that's been fun. And I wish I'd done more of that, but I just thought, this is my one shot. I waited so long to have these kids. I work. I want to spend my time with them. Yeah. And they were in sports, and I didn't want to miss any of that. And So now
you're a woman who has been pulled in so many directions, and including your career, right? And so through your experience having a child with special needs, you have formed sort of a niche in your practice.
I do represent
expand on
quite a
that?
number of people with special needs children, and
Okay.
I'm not sure how they get to me, but they do. And I just have a special place in my heart for those cases and those children just because
Sure.
I've lived it. I mean, having a special needs kid is very stressful in a marriage.
Yeah.
Very, very, very hard on a marriage.
It sounds like you've got a good, strong one, though, huh? So
I do.
Your
I
marriage is
do.
one of the minority marriages. What are the stats on that?
I think it's like 75%.
Golly. Yeah.
Because it's not very conducive to romance and, having time together, because you never have time. I mean, the special needs child is like a 24-hour job. And so it's hard to keep the connection.
Okay.
And you have to divide and conquer a lot.
Then, as if all of this and your career, and you work full time now, you're not just practicing part time.
No, I have my own law firm.
So it's
right.
It's full blown career. But you also serve on a board. And so I remember when we were talking initially, you said that there's so many distractions in parenting a child with severe special needs that you actually crave something to focus on. And the board has been that for you?
It has. My parents have both had a number of different cancers and have been treated at the Winship Cancer Institute at Emory. And so I'm going to be the chair of that board starting in May.
Incredible.
So I'm on the vice chair now, but it's an incredible board, great people, great institution. But that's been the other hardship in my life, is helping my parents navigate those and trying to be supportive and watching them and the strength they had to go through that. I've just lost my dad to brain cancer.
So sorry.
My mom has multiple myeloma, but they're amazing people. And Winship's amazing. And you just recognize everybody has their hardships. They do, whether it's cancer or special needs child or loss of a job or, I mean, and you have to be there for each other and know that you will get through the adversity.
Okay.
But you've got to have faith, friendship, and your family, because it's hard to do it alone.
Yeah. Did you ever feel like you were doing it alone, or have you always had this great system? Did the system just come together?
I felt alone in the early years when we couldn't figure out what was wrong with Grace, and my husband's an internal optimist, and so he's like, just preemie, but I definitely had my faith, and it's interesting, the infertility. We were told we would never have children, and I went through so much grief with that. It's almost like there's a part of me that kind of knew something was going to be wrong. I know that is so strange to say. It almost prepared me for then the special needs child. Okay. And then the special needs child and all that I've been through with my marriage, my children, has made me a better attorney. Okay. Because I'm a family law attorney. And so I'm dealing with family dysfunction, hardship all day, every day. And I'm much better at my job now than I was before all this happened. Okay. Because now I can sit here and look at these people and say, you're going to be okay. Yeah. They
trust you.
There's another chapter. Mm-hmm. Don't break down. We've got your back. Let's go get them. And I don't think I had that mentality before Grace. Okay. But now I'm like, you can do this. The wife that comes in, who's been married 45 years, and her husband's, leaves her. Mm-hmm. That's scary. Yeah. Or you're left with 3 little kids, and you haven't worked in, 10 years, and you're scared to go back to work and be a single mother, but you can do it. Yeah. You can do it.
It's incredible that you have the capacity to do all that you do and to cheer people on and keep people up through such difficult times. How long is a typical relationship with a client when you're dealing with a divorce
I try to
matter?
get them in here and out because it's a miserable process. Mm-hmm. And I just try to figure it out quickly, and let's try to get a solution and get this
done.
I call it a bad temporary job.
Okay.
this bad temporary job will end. Let's get it done.
Okay.
That's my mentality. But if it's, there's hard issues, sometimes they can take, I just finished one that took almost 3 years.
Wow.
But that's not normal. That's usually it's a couple months to a year.
Sure. You can certainly run a marathon if you need to, though.
Well, yeah. But I think a lot of women can.
Yeah.
You just don't know that you can.
You don't know unless you're put to the test. Yeah. A lot of us have things ahead of us that we will deal with, right? And hearing a story like yours is going to give a lot of people a whole lot of strength and perspective.
Well, I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope
Thank you so much for sharing.
No, because we aren't alone,
No.
Yeah. And we need to have each other's backs, and we need to be honest. I think there's so much in this new social media world. Everything's perfect, and look at this and look at that, and then we don't get to the essence of what people are really going through or what they really need.
Yes. Thank you for sharing your essence, because just like I said in the very beginning of our conversation, there is so much to you. And you gave us a real good look at how amazing you are, and your whole family just sounds so incredible.
Well, I've got lucky on that.
If there's one piece of advice that you could give to parents who might find themselves entering the life of parenting a child with severe special needs, what would you say?
I would say, let other people help you. People want to help you. You feel like they don't, but they do. And they don't know what to do unless you tell them.
Okay.
Use your, all your resources and just say, I need you to get in here and help me with this. Stay with the baby while I take the other one to the therapist. Or
is that something you learned how to do, or did you struggle with that? Or were you always receptive of?
I wasn't always receptive. It's almost like the person that stepped in and gave my other two a shower.
Yeah.
People started doing it, and I realized they wanted to help me.
Okay.
Let them help you.
Yeah.
You're not alone.
So when I think about you, when I walk away from our conversation today, and when my heart hurts for you, and I feel like, gosh, when does she ever get to breathe? I mean, I see this beautiful smile on your face, and I see the pride in your family and the pride that you have and the love that you have for Grace. Do I get to visualize in my mind a reality of you getting to sit back sometimes and just feel relaxed and enjoy your surroundings? Do you have moments of real, true, unweighted pleasure like that in your life?
I need more of that.
Okay.
And I would say that's where I have failed, is I think I can just keep charging through and never stop. And I think the death of my father has made me realize I can't do that.
Okay.
And I think it's to give myself permission, and we should all give ourselves permission to grieve or get ourselves back together after bad news. And that's what I'm still learning.
Okay. Well, as one of your new friends, I'll help hold you accountable.
Okay. I'll take you up on that.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Margaret, thank you so much for your honesty, especially in answering that question that so many of us carry but don't always ask. You've reminded us that connection, when it comes from respect and kindness, is often a gift, not an intrusion. Your strength is steady, your faith is grounding, and your love for your family is unmistakable. If this episode helped you better understand or feel more confident approaching someone in your own community, please share it, because sometimes the smallest act of connection can mean more than we realize. I'm glad you're still here, and the fact that you are, watching or listening all the way to the end, means you gave me a chance. This is a new podcast, and it was a big leap to create this for you, something real, thoughtful, and meaningful. We live in one of the most networked societies in history, but somehow we've become the least connected. That's the magic of She Fascinates Me, bringing together real women, real stories, and the quiet alchemy of change. If you enjoyed this episode, please follow or subscribe wherever you watch or listen, and take a moment to leave a quick rating or review. It really helps more people find the show, and it makes it possible for me to keep bringing you conversations like this one. And connect with me on social at She Fascinates Me. Every follow, share, and kind word helps this community of fascinating women grow. I'm so glad we're connected now. Thanks for being part of She Fascinates Me. This is an independent podcast, and every YouTube subscription helps me so much.